Hey everyone, 2025 is the year of the read-along, but 2025 also has a lot of release dates in store. So I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem, and these are the books that I'm most excited to read that are coming out in the year 2025. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem. I'm a composer, now also booktuber. You can find my music in The Wheel of Time Season 2, His Dark Materials Season 3, and the newly released psychological horror film Dead Whisper. So, as I mentioned, I work in the business, I also am an avid reader, and I wanted to talk about the books that I'm most excited about this year, in the year 2025, as of this taping. So, I'm doing this video a few weeks late, but, I figure better late than never. There are a ton of releases I wanted to talk about that I'm particularly excited about. Some that a lot of other booktubers have spoken about that I'm also kind of following along with these authors and series, and some that are not necessarily on everybody's radar. So if you like this kind of video, please like and subscribe. And also, once you finish watching, I would love to know your thoughts on any of these. Are you going to be picking any of these up when they get released? Are you excited about one in particular or more in particular? I would love to know kind of from you. I know for me, I'm definitely going to be picking a lot of these up on release date, but I'm also trying to buy less books this year. So I will probably prioritize. And so I'm going to kind of talk about which ones I'm definitely going to pick up and which ones I'll maybe leave on the back burner. Also, I'm on like 4 read-alongs right now, so kind of hard to fit everything in anyway. So that's just kind of the TLDR for me. So let's jump on into the book. So this one actually has already been released as of January 14th, 2025. Now, this is by an author that I've never read a book of, but she writes a lot in Afrofuturism as kind of that subgenre. I have read a few Octavia Butler's books, and that she was kind of like the godmother of Afrofuturism. So I kind of got really into that genre, and I wanted to explore more. This particular book is by Nnedi Okorafor, and the book is called Death of the Author. So this came out January 14th, 2025. Already has like a 4.18 rating on Goodreads, so doing pretty well. I'm going to read the little description here for you, and I'm always leaving the links in the description. If you want to check these out, you can check them out as well. But it says, life has thrown Zelu some curveballs over the years, but when she suddenly dropped from her university job and her latest novel is rejected, all in the middle of her sister's wedding, her life is upended. Disabled, unemployed, and from a nosy, high-achieving, judgmental family, she's not sure what comes next. In her hotel room that night, she takes the risk that will define her life. She decides to write a book very unlike her others. A science fiction drama about androids and AI after the extinction of humanity. And everything changes. What follows is a tale of love and loss, fame and infamy, of extraordinary events in one world and another. And as Zelu's life evolves, the line between fiction and reality begin to blur, because sometimes a story really does have the power to reshape the world. I love that idea of, I've always been fascinated by that idea of, I think about science fiction authors a lot. And so much of what is happening in tech today is a result of people who are in tech that grew up reading these science fiction novels growing up. So it's like, what is that fine line between creating an idea and people take it and run with it, and that idea becomes manifested in real life? So very fascinated about this book. Again, I'm leaving the link in the description. Let me know what you think about this one, but this one is already out, so you can purchase it now. I'm moving down the list here. So March 31st, 2025. This one, I am not going to be able to follow along with the rest of you because we're doing a soft read along. So I'm very early on into the series, but I read The Fall, the prequel novella by Ryan Cahill, and I absolutely loved it. And I was very excited because I'm going to be reading Of Blood and Fire with a bunch of you here. Speaking of which, by the way, side tangent, if you want to join in any of the read-alongs I talk about, you can check them out in the Fable app down below, and also the Discord, and I have a read-along calendar there as well. So not too late to join if you want to. But so this particular book is book 4 of The Bound and the Broken. This is the one that follows Of War and Ruin as a full-length novel, and this one is called Of Empires and Dust. Now, the release date here, as I am seeing, is March 31st, 2025. So I'm very excited to get to it eventually. Might be next year, it might be this year, depending on how the read-along schedule goes. But, I love what I've read in The Bound and the Broken universe so far, it is very much Dragon Rider fantasy. From what I've heard of War and Ruin, the third book, which is preceding this one, a lot of people say it reminds them of the breadth and scope of something like Storm of Swords by George R. R. Martin. So that is as good a calling card as any, right? Arguably the best fantasy book, of the 21st century, I guess you could say, Storm of Swords. So yeah, I'm excited to see of Empires of Dust when I get to it. But that is one of the ones I'm going to be reading. Now, taking a look at April. This is another book that is in a trilogy I have not started yet, but I do have the first one sitting on my shelf, and I promised myself I would at least start it. So depending on how that goes, I will definitely be reading this at some point. Will it be this year or next year? I don't know. This one might be one I don't get right away, but this is what I'm definitely keeping my eye on, and that is Mark Lawrence's The Library Trilogy, and this is the third book called The Book That Held Her Heart. So I know very little about this trilogy. I would love to know from you all if you've read it. I know I've spoken to some people here on BookTube who have sworn by this is Mark Lawrence at his best. Now, I've never read any Mark Lawrence books, so I'm very excited to check it out and see what the fuss is all about. I'll probably start the first book maybe in the summer or so, kind of when I have a little bit of break from all this fantasy overload I'm kind of doing this year. So I'm really looking forward to checking out, and that one is April 8th, 2025. Now, May is the stacked month this year. So May has 4 releases that I'm really excited about. So let's start with the one that comes out on May 1st, 2025, and that is Brandon Sanderson's Secret Project number 5. Now, this one is called the Isles of the Emberdark. So again, I don't know too much about this, except that he had announced it last year during his Words of Radiance Kickstarter campaign, and I had gotten the $50 version, which includes the hardback, kind of like how he did with his other Secret Project novels. And then I think it also includes audio and the Kindle version. So I'll probably switch between, because sometimes having the special edition is fun to read through, but when you want to kind of blaze through a book, you don't want to be slowly turning the pages carefully because it's just beautiful, right? So I might look at that one to admire on my shelf, and I might read the Kindle version, as often happens. So I'm very excited about that one because it has a ton of Cosmere connections. Now, a lot is not known about this book, so I don't know exactly which series are going to connect to it. I've heard there might be some Mistborn Era 3 related connections. I could be wrong on that, so correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Let me know what you think about this one. But I have a lot of secret projects to get through because I still have to read Tress of the Emerald Sea, Secret Project number 1, Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, Secret Project number 3, and The Sunlit Man, Secret Project number 4. So I'm going to read all of those this year, presumably. That one's on my definite list, so I'm really looking forward to checking that out. And I had ordered it last year, so it doesn't count in my, kind of book buying ban that I'm self-imposing right now. So I'm glad too, because I really wanted that one. Are you guys reading that one? Are you all caught up on the Cosmere? Let me know in the comments as well. So May 13th, now this one is particularly exciting. And I was going to try to finish the First Law universe by Joe Abercrombie in anticipation for this, because this is a bit of a departure from the First Law universe. In fact, it's his first book outside the First Law universe. This one is called The Devils, and this one will be out on May 13th, 2025. So Joe Abercrombie fans rejoice, because for those of you who have wanted new Joe Abercrombie, now we have it in a particularly completely new set of worlds, completely new set of characters. So let's talk a little bit about what this book is about. This one is book 1 of a trilogy. Now I'm going to read kind of the description here. It says, a brand new epic fantasy from New York Times best-selling author Joe Abercrombie, featuring a notorious band of anti-heroes, which he does really well, on a delightfully bloody and raucous journey. Holy work sometimes requires unholy deeds. Brother Diaz has been summoned to the sacred city, where he is certain a commendation and grand holy assignment awaits him. But his new flock is made up of unrepentant murderers, practitioners of ghastly magic, and outright monsters. The mission he is tasked with will require bloody measures from them all in order to achieve its righteous ends. Elves lurk at our borders and hunger for our flesh, while greedy princes care for nothing but their own ambitions and comfort. With a hellish journey before him, it's a good thing Brother Diaz has the devils on his side. So That one is coming out May 13th, 2025. I'm really excited to check this one out. I know very little about it. I'm not going to be able to get like an arc or anything, I think, and I wouldn't have time to read one, honestly, before May. So I will be picking that one up day one. I'm going to see about when I'm going to actually read that. I might read it with all of you, and just kind of wait and continue back up on First Law after I'm done. I'm not really sure yet. It's kind of a maybe for me. But are you all day one Joe Abercrombie, The Devil's readers? Let me know in the comments as well. So the third book in May is one I'm actually really excited about because it's completely off the beaten path from any of these fantasy books I've been talking about so far. And I've always been fascinated by Mark Twain. I always thought that his intellectual prowess, his penchant for wit, and just his, interesting quotes throughout the years I've read. And of course, I've read some of Mark Twain's books. I've always been interested in the man, and apparently there's like a 1,200-page comprehensive biography by Ron Chernow, who's done a ton of different biographies before. So I think that's his like 24th book or something coming out. And that one will be out on May 13th as well, the same day as The Devil. So they will be fighting for attention on my end. And I might get that one on Kindle because honestly, I'm starting to run out of shelf space, and it might be nice to have something that is easier to carry around. I've noticed, I don't know if you guys have this problem, but I know for me, when I've been reading, like I was reading Wind and Truth, right? That's the 1,300-page novel. I've been reading a lot of tomes, and I've noticed my thumbs start to get sore from holding it in particular ways. So I'm trying to figure out ways of reducing stress on my hands because I kind of need them for composing and playing piano. So anyways, that's a little side tangent, but I'm excited to check that book out because I've heard, the anticipation it's listed as one of the most anticipated reads of 2025 on various lists, including the New York Times. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what the fuss is about there. I have not read any Ron Chernow, and I've always been interested in Mark Twain. So looking forward to checking that one out. I'll probably be day one reading it, but I'll do what I've been doing with some other nonfiction books this year so far. I will pepper it in to a few different, months and just kind of let it carry a few pages a day or something and just kind of enjoy it that way. Keep things fun and not overwhelming. And the fourth and final entry, of course, my boy Stephen King, my favorite author of all time. I have a whole shelf dedicated to the man in my studio. And I also am trying to read every single book he's ever written. So of course I got to read his new one, and that one is called Never Flinch. That one's coming out on May 27th, 2025. So let's talk a little bit about what Never Flinch is about. So this particular book now finally has a description. I had also ordered it last year, so hey, doesn't count for this year's book buying ban. But this is a book that centers around his favorite character, Holly. So Holly Gibney has been in the Mr. Mercedes trilogy, has been in a few other books I'm not going to tell you because I don't want to spoil as well when she appears. But she was also in the self-titled Holly that came out, I think, a couple years ago now. It was before this newest entry, You Like It Darker. So this one is called Never Flinch. Let's talk a little bit about what it's about. So it says, when the Buckeye City Police Department receives a disturbing letter from a person threatening to kill 13 innocents and 1 guilty in an act of atonement for the needless death of an innocent man, Detective Izzy Janes has no idea what to think. Are 14 citizens about to be slaughtered in an unhinged act of retribution? As the investigation unfolds, Izzy realizes that the letter writer is deadly serious, and she turns to her friend, Holly Gibney, for help. Meanwhile, controversial and outspoken women's rights activist Kate McKay is embarking on a multi-state lecture tour, drawing packed venues of both fans and detractors. Someone who vehemently opposes Kate's message of female empowerment is targeting her and disrupting her events. At first, no one is hurt, but the stalker is growing bolder, and Holly is hired to be Kate's bodyguard. A challenging task with a headstrong employer and a determined adversary driven by wrath and his belief in his own righteousness. Featuring a riveting cast of characters, both old and new, including world-famous gospel singer Sister Bessie and an unforgettable villain addicted to murder, these twin narratives converge in a chilling and spectacular conclusion, a feat of storytelling only Stephen King could pull off. Now, interesting. It's not the kind of book I would typically be interested in. I love Stephen King's crime fiction. It's starting to feel a little long in the tooth for me. But hey, I'm willing to give it a chance. I mean, I read You Like It Darker last year, the series of short stories that he kind of put together in one collection. and I thought it was a Stephen King return to form. I'm hoping that carries through in this Holly book, and I will definitely be a day one reader because he's my favorite author. And honestly, he can make even a topic that I'm not necessarily quite, absolutely riveted by, he can make it riveting with his character work. So I'm excited for it anyways. Are you excited for this book? Let me know in the comments as well. So that is 4 that are coming out in May alone. Got a lot to read there. So let's talk a little bit about jumping on a few months to September. So September 23rd, 2025 is going to be the release of world famous author Ken Follett, and he is releasing a book called Circle of Days. Now, not much is known about this one yet, and things will be probably released as it gets closer to release day, but I heard it's a historical fiction epic that centers around the building of Stonehenge. Ken Follett, historical fiction, goes together like, peanut butter and jelly. And I've always been fascinated about the Stonehenge. I actually went to England a few years back and I got to see it in person, and it was a magical experience, honestly. And so I'm very excited to see a book that is centered around that and the making of it. Like, I could just imagine what Ken Follett will do. And he is so good at taking massive ideas and condensing them down and perfectly pacing and plotting them, because he got, cut his teeth being a thriller writer. So he knows how to keep things interesting throughout. So I'm looking forward to checking that out. I think I'll be a day one reader of that because Ken Follett is fast becoming one of my favorite authors, and I've only read like 2 of his books, right? I want to read everything he's written. I can already tell he's just my kind of author. So excited for that. Let's jump on ahead to October. So October 21st, 2025, Son of Stephen, King Sorrow by Joe Hill. Let's talk a little bit about what this one is about. It's supposed to be an 800 and something pager. I don't think I'm going to get to this one at release date, but I am very excited about it. So let's talk a little bit about the description. Arthur Oakes is a reader, a dreamer, and a student at Rackham College, Maine, renowned for its frosty winters, exceptional library, and beautiful buildings. But his ideal and burgeoning romance with Gwen Underfoot is shattered when a local drug dealer and her partner corner him into one of the worst crimes he can imagine, stealing rare books from the college library. Trapped and desperate, Arthur returns to his closest friends for comfort and help. Together they dream up a wild, fantastical scheme to free Arthur from the cruel trap in which he finds himself. Wealthy, irrepressible Colin Wren suggests using the unnerving Crane Journal, bound in the skin of its author, to summon a dragon to do their bidding. The others, brave, beautiful Allison Shiner, the battling twins Donna and Donovan McBride, and brainy, bold Gwen, don't hesitate to join Colin in an effort to smash reality and bring a creature of the impossible into our world. But there's nothing simple about dealing with dragons, and their pact to save Arthur becomes a terrifying bargain in which the 6 must choose a new sacrifice for King Sorrow every year or become his next meal. Wow, that took a turn I didn't expect. So this is almost a 900-page book, apparently. It's got fantasy. It's got almost like something that is steeped in realism. Interesting juxtaposition there. I've only read Heart-Shaped Box by Joe Hill so far. I actually didn't care for that book as much as I'd hoped. I liked it, though. I could see where it was going, and I like Joe Hill's writing. Just the topic itself didn't really interest me as much as I hoped it would. But I'm down to give him another chance, and I figured it might be kind of fun around the Halloween season to read something like this that's not quite horror, but blends a few different genres. I want to see how he does that, because I love Stephen King, and I love how he blends genres together. So, yeah, interesting one. So let's talk a little bit about 3 other ones that I'm kind of excited about that don't have release dates, I think, just quite yet. But I will be announcing them on this channel as I find out more information. The first one is the final Sun Eater book by Christopher Rocchio, Shadows Upon Time. So if you have followed Hadrian Marlowe's story so far, like I have, there's been 6 books, 3 short story collections, several novellas, and it charts the course of this guy who's like an Anakin Skywalker type character set 20,000 years in humanity's future as he becomes like a Darth Vader character. Except the twist. What if him becoming like a Darth Vader type character was for the good of humanity? I will tell you, there's got eldritch horror in it. It's got some of the most beautiful writing I've ever seen in any genre, let alone sci fantasy. Christopher Rocchio is one of the most brilliant writers I've ever come across, and I've been riveted by every book. The 6th book Disquiet Gods was probably my favorite of the series so far. And it's proof that you could get 6 books deep into a series, and if you know how to handle your characters and world building, you can create something where it just keeps getting better with every entry. And Christopher Rocchio is that kind of author, so I'm excited to see how Hadrian Marlowe's story concludes in Volume 7. Gonna be out this year, definitely gonna be a day 1 reader, no question there. No question, I'm so excited for that. The second book is part of the Edan trilogy by Philip Chase, BookTube's own Philip Chase, Dr. Fantasy himself, who wrote the Edan trilogy, which is about a holy war. It really kind of posits the question of, how can religion be used to manipulate the masses for good or bad? And for the people who are doing, things that are misguided, do they feel like they are in the wrong, or do they feel like they're in the right? That they're doing it for their own justifications? He is really good with what he likes to call transcendental fantasy, infusing kind of Eastern spiritualism with this kind of Norse fantasy and Tolkien-inspired, Beowulf-inspired fantasy. So I absolutely loved it. It was one of my favorite reads of the year, each book in the Edan trilogy last year in 2024. So I'm excited to check out his sequel, While Darkness Gathers. It's going to be out sometime this year, and it's supposed to take place after the events of Return to Edan, which is book 3 in the Edan trilogy. Now, I felt like each entry in that trilogy got better. He's just such a mature author in terms of the way he deals with characters, the way he interjects spiritualism into this fantasy world while never making it feel heavy-handed. He really makes you feel like you're on the journey with these characters. And he's really, really good at making you know each character intimately. Even with a varied cast of characters, you never get confused by who's who or what side someone is on. Even if their sides are evolving, their character arcs are evolving, you're never really feeling like confused about it. So he's just a master storyteller, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what he comes up with next. I will be a day 1 reader because, I am basically anything Philip releases from here on out, I'm going to be a day 1 reader. I just love the guy and I love his books. So that is the second one. The third one is going to be one that is going to be put off for me, only because I've only read the first book so far of this series, and that is the Red Rising series by Pierce Brown. Read the first book, really liked it. The second half of it was more Hunger Games-y, wasn't quite into that part of it, but I've heard that Golden Sun, the second book, gets far better than the first, and it just keeps getting better from there. So I'm excited to read those books eventually, and I want to read Red God, the 7th and final book, when it comes out later this year. I probably won't get to it this year, honestly, because I will probably have to table it for another year, kind of get through the read-alongs that I'm on this year, and then kind of maybe make 2026 the year of Red Rising. But I'm excited for all of this stuff. I don't know about you all, but I think we are in store for some really, really good reads this year. So tell me about you guys. Which one is most exciting for you on this list? Any surprises, things that you didn't expect on here? I really tried hard to include stuff that you would come to expect and are also hyped for, but also stuff that you may be a little left field for you, because I think that's the fun of this, is to be able to share our experiences, our reading adventures, what we're excited about. So please feel free to leave it in the comments and let me know what you're excited about, and let the community at large know, because we are growing a community here. So I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem. Thank you again for watching. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other. Please like and subscribe. It always helps the channel algorithm and pushing this out to the right people. I will see you on the next video. As always, take care.